Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
But as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Good evening and welcome to our last set of notes on U.S. foreign policy, 1783 to 1823. And we are wrapping up with the Monroe Doctrine. Please take out a set of Cornell notes, and our inquiry question for the night is, how did the Monroe Doctrine affect the United States relationship globally? So let's start with just what was going on in the world. At this time, in the early 1800s, Spain had control of much of the Americas. If you look at the map here, all these countries in blue at this point were colonies of Spain. However, in the early 1800s, we start seeing more and more uprisings. These colonies are fighting for their independence, wanting to break free from Spanish control. In 1820, a revolutionary fighter named Simon Bolivar led an independence movement in the region and in Mexico. And by 1821, Mexico breaks free and becomes an independent country. All the blue states, or blue colonies on the map, will break free from Spanish control in this time period. So all of a sudden we have these new countries. New countries usually aren't very strong. And this sets up some tension between Europe and the United States and the rest of the Americas, North America, South America, and then Central America. So what was the Monroe Doctrine? Why was it passed? So with Mexico gaining their independence, and then these other colonies as well slowly gaining independence, James Monroe, the president, and Secretary of State Adams, they were worried that European countries are going to come and meddle or interfere in the affairs of these new colonies, trying to get an advantage with them, maybe take advantage or take control of them. Britain had set up many trade relationships with these new countries and wanted to come to an agreement with the United States. However, the United States didn't want that. They wanted Europeans to stay in Europe, stay out of the way. So the Monroe Doctrine, simply put, it's a policy statement that warned European nations not to interfere in the Americas. When we say Americas, that means North America, South America, Central America. Not just the United States, but all of the countries and colonies in that region. So there were four main points to the Monroe Doctrine. One was that the United States would not interfere in the affairs of European nations. So if European countries are at war, battling, they're in Europe having issues, the United States are just going to stay out of it. They're not going to take sides. They're not going to help one side or the other. They're just going to stay out. Two, the United States would recognize and not interfere with European colonies that already existed in North and South America. So for the colonies that had not become independent, and we're still colonies of a European country, the United States said, we'll stay out. We're not going to interfere. We're not going to support their independence and help them try to break free. You can do what you want with them. Three, it says the Western Hemisphere was to be off limits to future colonization by any foreign power. So all of these new independent countries breaking free weren't open for new colonization from new countries. The Americas were closed. It wasn't going to be colonized, according to this document. And finally, four, the United States would consider any European powers attempt to colonize or interfere with nations in the Western Hemisphere as a hostile act. In other words, it would be an act of war that the United States would be willing to fight for and defend these new countries or colonies against the European countries. So if we look at this picture, it's pretty much saying, Europe, hands off. This is our place. The United States is ours. The Americas, let them do what they will. Let them make trading partners if they want to make trading partners, but it's not your business to come here and try to take over, control, and or manipulate any of the colonies or countries that are developing. Finally, what were the impacts of the Monroe Doctrine? European countries kind of saw this as offensive. However, few European countries really tried to challenge it at all. The doctrine was a show of power for the United States. We're still a young country, less than 50 years old at this point. Yes, we have fought 2 wars of independence, if you count the War of 1812. We won both of them, but we're still a pretty young country. But we're gaining power, gaining recognition throughout the globe. The key relationship was the relationship with Latin America. As a result of this, we became strong, or had a strong relationship with the Latin American countries, because they saw us as supporting them and being there to defend and protect or look out for their interests if these other foreign countries from the east would come in and try to take advantage. So again, if you look at this illustration, there was a chain between Spain and other European countries and Latin Central America. The Monroe Doctrine was saying, no, that chain's broken. You guys aren't here anymore. It divided the globe in half. You have the old countries that had been colonizing for hundreds of years, and then you have all the new countries. You have the Americas. You have the United States of America. You have the Central South American countries, which are all new countries at this time. So you have the old countries of the East, the new countries of the West, and you have the United States representing this Western Hemisphere. So if you think about these impacts, what this document said, the power that is shown in the United States, how do you think the Monroe Doctrine affected the United States relationship globally? Latin American relationship, European relationships. How do you think other countries not directly impacted by this would see and view the United States? So come prepared to class, ready to discuss, ready to look at this a little bit more as we get into our project starting on Monday of next week. Have a great evening.